Shift to San Antonio tonight for a pivotal Game 5 with the series tied up at 2 games apiece. Victor Wembanyama will be in the lineup for the Spurs after not being suspended or fined for the elbow he threw at Naz Reid in Game 4, which resulted in a flagrant 2 ejection. A man no stranger to ejections himself, Draymond Green, weighed in on Wembanyama avoiding additional punishment. Listen to this.
What if it was Naz Reid elbowing Wemby like that? So if Naz Reid looked at Wemby, turned away, loaded his elbow right to the neck, and proceeded to follow through with the other hand as though that wasn't a mistake. Standards has been set. Fines have happened. Jaden McDaniels and Joker just got fined for much less. For there not to even be a fine, it's crazy.
Does Draymond have a point? Is it crazy to not even fine him? Forget the suspension.
I think it's wild he doesn't get fined, but he does have a point. He is right. Naz Reid would have been fined, probably would have been suspended, but I think the biggest point that Draymond is missing here, this reminds me, and I'm not going to say names, but I got a chance after I got hurt, Stephen A. and Cam, to go to an NBA team, and we went out one night, and star player and role player did something. And I remember sitting with the coach the next day, and the coach said, he ain't him, and him ain't him. And it was interesting just hearing that, because it was like, oh, different strokes for different folks. So, Cam, you talked about this earlier before. For repeat offenders or somebody like a Naz Reid, sure, that may be the case. For a guy like Wemby, first ejection, it's not going to be the case. The world may not like it, but at the end of the day, the league has set the standard. And Victor Wembanyama is in a different place within his career and sets a different standard for the league than other players. And we act like double standards don't exist in this world. They exist every single day. Stephen A., I hear all the shows you talk about. It's just a reality of the world we live in. I can't get away with things at this network that you can. And that's just what it is. Cam, same thing for you. You can say something in the world, and then I can be like, oh, well, Cam said it. Don't mean the same rules apply to me. We live by these standards every single day, but then we get angry. But that ain't the world we live in. To me, that's just what it is.
I don't know if you've seen me and Perk discussing this last hour, Jay. And I said the same thing that you said. Perk showed me him lightly headbutting somebody and him getting suspended for a game. Perk, you wasn't Wemby. That was no disrespect. It's like he's on the verge of being the face of the NBA. Perk's my guy. You know I'm just messing with him. I love Perk.
Of course.
That's my guy. But he's on the verge of being the face of the NBA. And we talked about business, and we talked about viewership, and we talked about a few different things, Jay. But to your point, I like what you just said. He's not him, and him's not him. However you put it, it's different strokes for different folks. It's different scenarios for different people. And we talked about viewership and who people want to see play, so on and so forth. What I will say is this before I give it to Stephen A. I'm happy that Wemby's not being suspended. I think that he genuinely was saying, I thought we was roughhousing, because the refs are letting these two team players. If you look at the battle between Julius Randle and Stephon Castle, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what kind of personal problem they have with each other. They're bumping. It's a lot of hand checking, the refs aren't calling, etc. Does that warm in the elbow? No, but they're letting them play physical. But I'll leave this, like I said, with Stephen A. I like how Adam Silver's handling this, because if it was David Stern, he'd be suspended. He'd definitely be suspended. Ron Artest did something similar to James Harden, got suspended 7 games. Yep, 7 games.
7 games.
Yep.
7 games.
7 games.
Listen, here's the deal. Wemby definitely should have been immediately ejected, and his action warranted a suspension, which makes everything that Draymond Green said as correct, not to mention that it's coming from Draymond Green, so it means something even more, because there's a heightened level of sensitivity because of what he probably feels he's been subjected to throughout his career. And not only that, as a present-day player, he's telling you what would be happening if he was a part of the Minnesota Timberwolves and you got away with that brother not getting suspended for this game, or you going into game 5 with an entirely different attitude. And it may be something that works against Minnesota because just if Wemby's not suspended, obviously the league is saying, you ain't him. There's different strokes for different folks, which means they're going to protect him. Which means that if you go out there and you try to get ultra physical with this brother, who's obviously very, very slim, 7'5", 235, he's rail thin at this particular moment in time. The bottom line is that if you try to get at him like that, the referees are going to be all over you because if he's not being suspended, obviously they want him in the game. And if you try to take him out of the game, they're going to take you out of the game. So Minnesota is in a dicey situation. There's no question about that. But that still doesn't mean that Draymond Green is wrong about anything that he said or the questions that he asked. It's just that Jay ain't wrong either because, like Jay pointed out, listen, you know what time it is. Different strokes for different folks. What Draymond Green might never be able to get away with, Steph Curry could get away with all day long, and he wears the same uniform as you. Why? Because you ain't Steph Curry. There is a difference, and we have to understand that. And unfortunately, back in the day, for example, Shay, if you were the Knicks and you had Patrick Ewing, right? You didn't want Patrick Ewing out of the game, so what did you do? You brought Charles Oakley on board. Why? Because Charles Oakley was having none of that. Anything, you breathe wrong in the direction of Patrick Ewing, Charles Oakley was in your face. That kind of stuff that was going on. So we understand what people need to do, and San Antonio may need to get somebody that's an enforcer, that's a protector of Wembanyama in the future so he doesn't have to feel so frustrated because of what he's subjected to and resort to actions like this.
Stephen. Sorry,
I will say, it's okay, Kim. I do think Draymond's bigger point, though, was, yes, the ejections, but I think we all agree that should have happened, and it did. The suspension, okay, Wemby's in a different level, but no fine either. Like,
fines, wow.
There's no excuse.
What's a fine?
There's no excuse for that. I mean, there's no excuse for the NBA not to fine him. There's absolutely positively he should have been fined an exorbitant amount of dollars. Like, for example, let's say, you want to fine him $50,000 or $100,000 or whatever the number
exactly
is. The point is, even if it was something to him, as long as you didn't suspend him for the game, you could have made up for it to some degree by giving him a stiff financial penalty. Right. You could have done that. The fact that the league didn't even do that, they clearly dropped the ball. No doubt.
I think that was Draymond's point, and it feels like it's a right one.
The shoe was on the other foot, and it was Nas Reed taking out Wemby. I think this situation would look totally different. There would be fines. There would be suspensions. Jaden McDaniels and Joker just got fined for much less. For there not to even be a fine, it's crazy. After watching their coach say, well, I'm happy he took the matters into his own hands and leveled Nas Reed with an elbow, I would say to the Minnesota Timberwolves, hey, guys, this is fair game. There's no suspension. There's no fines. This is fair game. Who coming out there tonight or tomorrow night and doing it to Wemby?
That's Draymond Green. Big Perk, is that going to be the attitude the Timberwolves take onto the floor tonight?
It should. It's going to be a level of aggression, right? I mean, I think it's going to be a level of physicality, but I'm 1,000% in with what Draymond said. Victor Wembanyama should have been suspended for tonight's game. Like, real talk. As a guy that led the league in technical fouls, a guy that was suspended, you saw the video that I showed you yesterday on First Take?
Yes.
I got suspended for a slight headbutt. This man looked him in the eyes and lined him up and threw a malicious elbow, a vicious elbow. And you know what it set for the rest of the league? You know what Adam Silver and the NBA said to the rest of the league? We prioritize stardom and views over the health of our players. Because Draymond is right. If that was the other way around and Nas Reed would have took out Wemby, he would have been suspended for the day. You cannot do that. It's about protecting the brand, not the names on the back of the jersey. And that's what that call was about when it came down to Wemby not being suspended.
Jump in.
Perk, what time did that happen? I'm just curious. What time did that happen?
Quarter.
That happened
4 minutes into the second quarter.
Which meant there was 34 minutes of game time left to be played. That was essentially him being suspended for the game. It was. He missed 34 minutes of playing time. It affected the game. Had he not been ejected, he would have gotten suspended. I'm telling you this, Perk.
No,
Listen. You went on your soliloquy. You sit down and listen. Okay. All right?
Go.
He was suspended essentially for Game 4 of that series. For him to be suspended for Game 5 is the equivalent of 2 games.
Yes.
That's not a 2-game thing for a player who has not had a history of doing acts like that. Draymond Green, Kendrick Perkins, habitual line steppers. That's why you get games.
I still think there should have been a fine. Like the fact that there wasn't a fine, like at least you get fined.
By leaving it all to itself, yes. The lack of a fine.
Fine, it's fine. Wait. One more thing. This is also part of the unspoken rule of basketball, which I'm happy that Draymond brought up. You deliver an elbow like that, there are no consequences. Yo, tonight you may get an elbow back in the face.
Absolutely.
Like that's what basketball is. We have these conversations in the locker room all the time. Like, okay, it's fair hunting tonight. Like somebody's gonna come in and give him a blow.
Another key point that Draymond pointed out